The Skunkawug of Slimeland, Part 1. Into the Wardrobe and Over the Sea. Chapter 1. Open Doors. Deep in the heart of Slimeland, the Skunkawug lives there. He lives on human body parts, so children, please, beware. Mum always told the same story before bedtime, but it never got boring. "Tell us it again, Mum," Rebecca would ask, pulling the duvet up to her ears, her toes curling into the mattress. "Yeah, we're not scared," Hannah would declare, trying to ignore the shiver that ran up and down her spine just thinking about it. "Oh, all right," Mum would finally agree, settling down on the armchair in between the two beds. She tucked her feet up underneath her body and began her story once more. There are some worlds that you cannot see. There are some worlds that you only hear about on the whisper of the wind. Worlds that nobody has ever been to, but that everybody knows about. People try to forget about them because they are so dark and scary, even the bravest of men would run away crying to his mother. "Where's Slimeland?" Hannah would ask, but she always got the same reply every night. "Nobody knows." "But you've been there." "I don't know what you're talking about, Rebecca. Now mouth shut, ears open." By the time the story was over, both Rebecca and Hannah would lie shivering under the sheets. They couldn't even sleep with the light off because they were so afraid that the Skunkawug would come creeping and sneaking out of Slimeland to get them. "Can you sleep, Han?" whispered Rebecca one moonless night. "No," whispered Hannah. "I don't want the Skunkawug to come and get me." "Do you think it's real?" Rebecca asked, sitting up in bed and holding her knees to her chest. "Course it's real. Mum wouldn't lie." "Then why doesn't anyone know where Slimeland is?" "I don't know. Maybe the map got lost." "Don't be stupid, Han. I mean, what if the Skunkawug really is alive?" "Shut up, Becky. I'm going to bed." "Fine, but if you're not here in the morning, I'll know why." Rebecca threw herself back down onto the bed and sighed. Hannah lay staring at the ceiling, a sinking feeling taking over her body. Her mother's song kept floating around in her head. So many questions. So many shadows. Wait, was that a light coming from underneath the wardrobe door? Hannah was very quiet the next morning at breakfast, even though Mum had cooked the girls' favourite. The sausages had lost their juiciness and the eggs looked like bodiless heads sitting in their cups. The baked beans reminded Hannah of little orange rabbit droppings. Rebecca, on the other hand, looked cheery as she munched on her egg and soldiers. "What's the matter, Hannah?" Mum asked, patting Hannah on the head. "You not sleep very well, love?" Not feeling well," Hannah muttered, gulping down some orange juice. Once Mum had left the room, Hannah jumped off her seat and grabbed Rebecca's arm. "I know where the Skunkawug lives, Rebecca," she hissed, glancing around the kitchen to make sure that no one was listening. "What are you on about, you weirdo?" Rebecca laughed. "Listen," Hannah insisted. "I know where the Skunkawug lives, and I'm going to go and find it. I know where the Skunkawug is, and I'm going to hunt it. It lives behind Granny's knitted jumpers." "You're crazy," said Rebecca. "I know Gran's jumpers are a little bit furry, but I don't even think the Skunkawug would go near them. You must have been dreaming." "Fine," Hannah said, picking up her school bag and flicking her ponytail behind her head. "You don't believe me, but I know someone who will, and when I find the Skunkawug, I'm giving it your name." Stephen didn't like school. School was the most boring thing ever. Stephen didn't think that school was important at all, so spent most of his day sitting in the corner of the classroom, making paper aeroplanes and hurling them up in the air. He was always in trouble. Miss Edward, the headmistress, could single him out just by his ginger hair in a crowded room, and all the teachers had him down as a troublemaker. Stephen and the girls had been neighbours all their lives. They were even born in the same hospital and liked the same tea. Chips and fish fingers with heaps of mashed potato and peas. And the same ice cream. Chocolate with chocolate sauce and chocolate sprinkles. Stephen knew everything about everything and was always bringing round his encyclopedia to tell Hannah and Rebecca all the new things he had discovered. Did you know that dinosaurs became extinct after a meteor hit Earth millions of years ago, and that the Earth and other planets dance around the sun in what's known as an orbit? Stephen could teach you anything you wanted to know. When Hannah and Rebecca arrived at school, Stephen was already there. He was sat huddled in the corner of the playground, hiding behind his encyclopedia. All that could be seen was a dome of ginger hair peeking out from over the top of a hardback, leather-bound book, and a pair of beady, searching eyes looking round the playground conspicuously. "Hi, Steve," Rebecca chirped, making Stephen start as she jumped out in front of him, grinning. Hans flipped her lid. "She's even crazier than you." Stephen frowned and started reading his book again, saying nothing. Hannah shot a piercing look at Rebecca, who shrugged and began talking again. "She says she knows where the Skunkawug lives. She wants to feed it to him." "Don't be silly, Becky," Hannah said, but Stephen was captivated. He had appeared from behind his book. "You know where it lives?" Stephen said, eyes wide and mouth open. Hannah nodded slowly and put her finger to her lips, urging Stephen to keep his voice down. "Where?" Stephen whispered. "Be awake at midnight tonight when everyone has gone to bed. Bring your backpack and some essentials with you. We'll leave the window open." "Yeah, but where's Slimeland?" "Do you promise not to tell anyone?" said Hannah. "I swear on my Pokemon card collection." Rebecca raised her eyebrows and folded her arms across her body, unimpressed and unconvinced. Hannah urged them both closer so that they were standing huddled in a circle, heads close together and hearts pounding with excitement. "The way into Slimeland." Stephen took a sharp breath and Rebecca sighed, wishing that Hannah would just spit it out. "The way into Slimeland is in our bedroom." "No way!" Stephen shouted, smacking his hand on top of his head and almost dropping his encyclopedia. "It's true," Hannah said. "I've seen it, so I know it exists. What Mum told us is all true, about the Skunkawug and everything." Stephen snorted in reply and pushed his glasses back onto his nose. "So what are we going to do?" "Sneak into Slimeland and go exploring," said Hannah. "We have to find the Skunkawug and figure out what to do. We have to save little kids from it." "What sort of idiot would want to eat little children's big toes?" Rebecca puffed. "What's wrong with fish fingers and chips and beans?" "According to what the encyclopedia says," Stephen began. "According to what the encyclopedia says," Rebecca mimicked. Hannah scowled at her, and she looked sharply back. "What?" "Shut up," said Hannah. "Carry on, Stephen." "According to what the encyclopedia says, the Skunkawug also lives on earwax." "You've got to be kidding," Rebecca gasped mockingly. "Earwax? Oh no, call the police. Something stole my earwax. Murder, murder. Ow! Get off, Han, that hurt." "We've got to stop it, Stephen. We all know how the story ends." "We? What do you mean, we?" Rebecca retorted. There was a sudden creaking noise coming from outside the door. Hannah and Rebecca both gasped and jumped into their beds. Diving under the covers, Stephen looked startled and looked for the nearest hiding place. When the noise outside had passed, the girls crept out of their beds and sighed. That was close. Stephen tumbled out from his hiding place underneath the bedside table and straightened himself up. "What were you doing hiding under there, you Wally?" Rebecca laughed. "There was nowhere else to go," Stephen said defensively. "Shh, you guys," Hannah hissed, her ear pressed against the door. "She might come back." An hour of silence passed. Hannah insisted on having the light turned off, so the three sat in total darkness. But that was okay. None of them were scared of the dark like some of the children in their class. They were brave explorers of the highest degree. Explorers cannot afford to be scared of anything. As the moon grew higher and the clouds grew greyer, everyone began to twitch. Waiting for the glow to appear from inside the wardrobe was harder than anyone had expected. And was it ever going to come? "Oh, this is silly," yawned Rebecca. "It's not going to happen." She's right, Hannah said. Stephen, you should go home. Sorry. I thought it was... The ground began to vibrate. The whole room seemed to be morphing into different shapes. Then suddenly, as if someone had flipped a switch, a faint glow began to shine from inside the wardrobe, soft at first, then stronger and stronger, until it was so strong that it looked like morning. This is it, Hannah said. The entrance to Slimeland. Cheese and rice, Rebecca breathed. Here we go. Are you sure this is a good idea? Stephen said, clutching his encyclopedia close to him like a teddy bear. This is it, Hannah said, grabbing her backpack and taking a deep breath. There's no going back now. The three explorers held hands, stepped forward, and opened the door that led the way to Slimeland.